Appendix: the Capital Asset Pricing Model. The capital asset pricing model builds on more advanced finance theories, but it relates closely to the risk and reward and time value of money concepts we covered in Lessons 1 and 2. You'll find the ideas quite familiar. This appendix is optional and designed for those eager to delve deeper into the cost of equity capital. We'll explore key arguments for and against the use of the capital asset pricing model and address its practical challenges. Before you proceed, remember the ominous line from Dante Alighieri's Inferno, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," famously inscribed on the gates of hell in the poem. I'm joking. We've simplified the capital asset pricing model to make it more accessible. For those curious, Dante Alighieri was a renowned Italian poet, writer, and philosopher from the late Middle Ages. In the ivory towers of academia, the capital asset pricing model is thought of as one of the best ways to calculate the cost of equity. The problem with the capital asset pricing model, otherwise known as CAPM, is it's challenging to use effectively in the real world. Still, understanding the basic formula is useful because it captures the two biggest factors that determine the cost of equity, the time value of money, and company-specific risk. We'll go over the basics of the capital asset pricing model. When calculating the cost of equity, the capital asset pricing model begins by considering the return of the least risky investment available. Most investors use US Treasury bond yields as a benchmark for this risk-free rate due to the high creditworthiness of the US government. There is minimal, if any, risk that the US government will fail to fulfill its obligations to Treasury bondholders. In the capital asset pricing model, the risk-free rate represents the time value of money. As interest rates increase, the risk-free rate generally also rises, which in turn elevates the cost of equity. Conversely, when interest rates decline, the risk-free interest rate typically declines, causing the cost of equity to also decline. Once the risk-free rate is established, the equity risk premium is added. This premium reflects the additional risk associated with investing in the stock market compared to risk-free investments like government bonds. Remember, stocks or equities inherently carry more risk than bonds. The equity risk premium represents the additional return that investors expect to earn from the stock market over and above the risk-free rate. As I just explained, the equity risk premium accounts for the additional return investors expect from the stock market due to its higher risk compared to risk-free assets like US Treasury bonds. However, this premium needs to be adjusted to account for the specific risk associated with individual companies, which can vary significantly from the overall market. In the capital asset pricing model, this adjustment is made using a metric called beta. Beta measures a company's volatility relative to the market. Multiplying the market's risk premium by a company's beta adjusts the premium to reflect either the higher or lower risk of investing in that specific company compared to the stock market. Let's delve deeper into how this works. Beta quantifies a company's specific risk by examining how its stock price fluctuations compare to those of the overall stock market. Essentially, it measures the volatility of a stock relative to the market, serving as an indicator of its risk level. For instance, if the stock market fluctuates by 1% and a company's stock price responds by moving 2%, the company's beta is 2. This indicates that the stock is twice as volatile as the market. Conversely, if the company's stock moves only 0.5% in response to the same market movement, its beta is 0.5, suggesting it is less volatile than the market. Let's walk through an example to understand how the capital asset pricing model calculates the cost of equity. Assume the following parameters. The risk-free interest rate is 4%. Because interest expense is tax deductible, we use the after-tax rate for our calculations. With a tax rate of 30%, the after-tax risk-free rate is 4% multiplied by 1 minus 30%, which equals 2.8%. The equity risk premium in the stock market is 5%. Our hypothetical company has a beta of 2, indicating it is twice as volatile as the market. Now, let's apply these values to the formula. The cost of equity is calculated as follows. Start with the after-tax risk-free rate of 2.8%, then add the product of the equity risk premium, 5%, and the company's beta 2. This calculation is shown on the slide. Therefore, the cost of equity based on our assumptions and using the formula is 12.8%. While the capital asset pricing model is highly regarded for its theoretical accuracy in calculating a company's cost of equity, it faces practical challenges when applied in real-world settings. Consider the analogy of academics lost in a dangerous forest. Despite their extensive theoretical knowledge, their theories may not be practically applicable for survival. This scenario mirrors the challenges faced when applying theoretical models in the real world. One significant issue with the capital pricing model is the use of beta, which is intended to measure a company's specific risk. However, beta can be influenced by external factors unrelated to the company's actual business operations, making it an imperfect indicator. The model presupposes that stock volatility accurately reflects business risk, which may not always be the case. Another challenge lies in estimating the expected excess return over the risk-free rate that investors anticipate from the stock market in the future. This estimation often relies on historical market performance, which, while informative, is not a guaranteed predictor of future outcomes.